And we're back with Pipebomb Radio, bringing you the best in professional wrestling. We're going to kick this right off for the date of 11/10/2012. The previous Raw. Did you guys manage to catch the previous Raw?
Yeah, we catch the previous Raw.
Of course.
Okay, before we start off with that, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Curse.
I'm Subway.
And I'm Hector Diaz.
There you go. So let's start it off with you, Subway. What do you think of the last Raw?
The crowd was great. Yeah, oh man, the crowd was funny. It was like watching a soccer game. Raw, the Raw wasn't very good though. The crowd was great though, especially when Wade Barrett wrestled.
Same sentiments, Hector Diaz, or?
I completely agree with that. I was a little mad just because they completely changed everything in a week, and especially given that they only have a couple of weeks until Survivor Series. Ridiculous, but we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yes, exactly. As for me, I thought the Raw, the same sentiments, pretty much great crowd. If only we had these type of crowds here at home, I'm sure the product would go along a bit more smoothly, It's just, I understand WWE sometimes how skeptical they could be, I mean, they push something really hot and you have a dead crowd, it's not going to go over and that's it. You just killed a really good idea just because the crowd didn't decide to pop or something. So I totally agree on them being paranoid at times with certain things, but...
Or fickle.
Fickle as well.
So it's your move, America.
Exactly. We need hot crowds. That's the thing. Why? You're already paying $30 for the cheap seats, and it only increases from then on out, right?
Right.
For wrestling events. You're paying that much money. You might as well just show off a little energy. It wouldn't hurt, right?
That's very true.
With that in mind, we're talking about the crowds in the current WWE product. How would you rate the product right now, Hector Diaz?
Well, how would I rate the crowds? Or the product as a whole?
The product overall.
Overall, I think it's a little subpar. I do think there's some gleams of hope every now and then. I do understand that this is more of a rebuilding phase, which is why I keep tuning in every week. Because I want to see that progression to what hopefully will be a really great product in a couple of years. You have really good up-and-comers, and hopefully they're able to keep that momentum that they have now with your Dolph Zigglers and your Daniel Bryans, and maybe at some point they will all be not all main event caliber, but they'll have the experience to be able to carry a good product like that.
I personally agree with that. I really do agree with that. They do need I think that's why a lot of diehard fans tune in to watch Raw every week to see if there's a gleam of hope. Yeah, basically. And they want change. They want their 1997s. They want their Attitude Era. They want their ECW 1995 or their 96 Nitro. It's all bought by WWE, and I personally think that Raw is just another Nitro.
But have you seen a glimmer of that hope or not at all?
Oh, hell no.
No. What about you, Hector Diaz?
I've seen some of it. The matches are less entertaining. I'll admit that. The storylines, well, especially considering last Raw, they're a little bit ridiculous. But every now and then there's some huge pop or a good move here and there, especially in Hell in a Cell with Del Rio and Randy Orton. I was like, well, what if these guys keep doing that?
Yeah.
Maybe, not always, just because you'll probably get used to it. But if they do this more often, these types of moves, these big pops, maybe you can build with that.
That was a good match. That finish was predictable, though.
The Orton out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think that's his gimmick now.
From out of nowhere.
RKOs, I don't know. Yeah, out of nowhere.
Austin did random stunners, so...
That's true.
Not trying to compare both of them, but,
No, but with the stunner, you have a somewhat of a build-up, a second build-up with Randy Orton. It's just out of nowhere.
Yeah, literally. Speaking of that, speaking of you seeing glimmers of hope, Hector Diaz, I checked your Twitter account, which is I am Hector Diaz.
There you go. Thank you for the plug.
Sure thing. But yeah, I was checking your Twitter, and you were actually giving out live updates on Raw, right? And I noticed that after the Wade Barrett match against the Funkasaurus Brodus Clay, I noticed that you're like, you just typed it out. This was amazing, right?
I love the crowd, even in a match with Brodus Clay, and I'm still a pretty big fan of Brodus Clay, just for he's good at what he does. But Wade Barrett's entrance was just ridiculous. I haven't seen anything like that. It, not to be nostalgic about it, it had some signs of attitude, where the crowds are just, where everything that was happening in the ring was almost inaudible because of the entire crowd.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved. Yeah. And it looked like Barrett knew what was going on. Yeah. And he took it in stride.
Yeah, I saw that smirk he did when he pinned Brodus. As soon as it rang through, you just saw him, like, Even I broke out laughing because we saw that Raw together, right? Even I was like, oh shit, I can't believe he actually did that.
Yeah, it felt like it didn't even feel like he was a heel.
No,
he is. It felt like he was a face when he did the super knee elbow. Everybody went, oh. It was like a soccer game. It was really cool. And that's what we need here in the U.S.
Right, and then they still milked it on SmackDown, where they had Barrett with Big Show, and then they had Sheamus and Regal.
Yeah.
They had that flavor to it. It seemed a little gimmicky, but it worked.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. But again, professional wrestling is supposed to be gimmicky. It's supposed to be cheesy. That's what's beautiful about it. Exactly. Don't stray away from that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And hopefully there's a bright future in the product overall, right?
Right.
But if we were to look at their current storylines and their current logic, I mean, Mick Foley against CM Punk, it was supposed to be a Survivor Series match.
And where are they now? Punk's in the triple threat match against Cena and Ryback, and where's Foley?
Yeah.
And it replaced it with Team Orton and Team Ziggler, basically.
Did they give it official names yet, or is it still Team?
In the house show.
They already. I
saw a leak on Facebook, and they gave out Team Orton and Team Ziggler, but I don't know if they'll go through with it. But so far right now, that's what it is. And there's a mystery entrant for Orton, so we don't know who that is yet. It's probably Cena.
Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, to me, Foley's appearance was a little abrupt. I knew people were talking about, a confrontation between Punk and Foley.
Yeah.
I didn't see it coming. I think his talents would be best suited to build up, so to give somebody a push, like somebody smaller, or somebody that needs that push, not somebody who's already at the top.
Yeah.
I was thinking like last or earlier this year, the Dean Ambrose thing.
Yeah.
That would have been a good situation for not just Dean Ambrose, but for a superstar of like his caliber to be pushed, right? But I mean, unfortunately, that didn't happen. And the match itself, the Survivor Series match, looks like it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I'm questioning is Foley going to show up at all, or did they just completely scrap it?
Maybe he's a mystery entrant.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a new up-and-comer debut. Maybe it's a returning superstar.
Maybe it's Dude Love.
Maybe it's Dude Love.
Yeah.
That can work.
Lewis Kirsch thinks it's Dude Love.
Yeah, it's Dude Love. Yeah, it has to be Dude Love. It's always Dude Love. So, I mean, yeah, and I just don't get this whole... I mean, it's just, like you said, it seemed a bit abrupt how he just showed up, and, they just quickly changed it, and I mean, does that show confidence in the creative team,
Oh, no.
Not at all. And or who knows who's... I mean, because, everything has to go through Vince at the end. At the end of the day, everything has to go through Vince. I mean, does this show Vince's own confidence in his own product or something? No, it doesn't,
Well, the thing that I found funny was that Survivor Series match was reported to be Vince's idea.
Yeah.
And once he found out fans completely didn't like that, he just scrapped that, went for that fallback triple threat match. And on Raw, he publicly blamed Vicky Guerrero, which is just funny to blame someone in public for an idea that was originally yours. I understand that she's, the GM or
the heel.
Whatever the heel supervisor.
Right, the managing supervisor.
Yeah.
But it's just funny to see Vince publicly blame somebody for his own mistake.
And let's say Vince wouldn't own up, or let's say it really is creative's fault. What are some things that creative should do to change with the product?
stable angles.
Stable angles.
Yeah, they gotta stop changing, or they just gotta stop. They just gotta keep going with it.
Just stay the course, right?
Yes.
Just stay the course.
Right, because at some point they look at it 2 weeks in and they're just like, well, this isn't working. It's been 2 Raws and we should just scrap everything. No, you should give it some time, let it work itself out, and hopefully you'll get a more entertaining product.
Which I totally agree, and I don't know why Vince isn't so. I don't know why Vince is so forgetful. As a matter of fact, I mean, there's been stories about how him and Patterson back in the early '90s, they would plan out, like, storylines months in advance, and they would just stay the course with them, and let them pan out, and and that managed to create such really successful angles, such as when Elizabeth and Randy split up, and then they got back together, and then there was a whole thing with Flair, which was an excellent angle and stuff like that, and they managed to. And they managed to plan that out. I mean, that whole Randy thing. That's literally since the summer of '88. Since the summer of '88 when he started turning heel against Hulkamania, and then he became the Macho King and all that. You know what I mean? This is something that probably Vince and Patterson came up with months in advance, and look at how I managed to create Macho Man's character so successfully.
There was an actual story arc.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a crazy idea nowadays, but it can work.
Yeah. Speaking of story arcs that I would say creative should change is that whole John Cena AJ thing.
That's a rib on Cena.
It's a rib on Cena.
I already tell you that.
Definitely.
It's a rib on Cena for rumors. He's for rumors that he did something with Kelly.
Dude, and anyone's done anything with Kelly. I've done something with Kelly, and I don't even know about it.
I thought it was a rib, but on something else, that there was a report that John Cena lashed out at Vince for the quality of the product. And I mean, John Cena's the one that's benefited the most out of this, this PG era, this family friendlier programming. So having John Cena complain about it is great to like the hardcore fans, but I'm sure it rubbed Vince the wrong way.
Like probably Vince saw it as being ungrateful,
Right, I gave you everything. You're at the top. You're gonna stay at the top for a while, and you're still complaining.
And as a matter of fact, a while ago I had a conversation with Subway about how Cena was the one to really benefit out of this PG era, right? And even before it was the PG era, I mean, I gave a good example with Crime Time. You know how Crime Time had it still had
a semi-push.
Yeah, they had a semi-push, and their whole gimmick and their whole characters were kind of, I wouldn't say Attitude Era exactly, but you could see some strands of the Attitude Era still in their characters, and those vignettes in which they would just rob people and stuff.
Right, it was bordering on this, I guess, the idea of not being safe, being a stereotype, things like that, something that's not generally PC, but it still kind of worked, even though their push didn't last that long.
And what I'd say, this is like, usually pushes end with a 3 count. This is the first time I ever saw a push end with 3 words, and that was JBL is poopy. You remember that?
I remember that.
I'm serious. Those 3 words, because remember, they were trying to make a stable with Crime Time and Cena, CTC. Remember that? Those 3 words literally managed to kill off JTG and Shad's future. That's the flat out truth, and that's in my honest opinion. It's just this was pre-PG, and that I just totally like, these guys aren't street. These guys aren't really legit.
But hey, for what it's worth, 2 out of 3 of those superstars are still under contract.
Yeah, that John Cena guy. No one's ever heard of him. Whatever happened to him?
Something about a hotel.
Oh yeah, which ironically borders a storyline that the rival company TNA did.
With Claire Lynch and AJ Styles, the pregnancy angle,
so another AJ, right?
Yeah.
There's still an AJ in it.
Yeah.
He had I remember she had the baby, and it was like a doll, like a plastic doll. What the fuck am I watching?
It's a baby alive. Those just must have cost TNA half of their budget for that week.
All of the old Gene Snitsky angle. Remember when he kicked that baby?
Precisely,
It
wasn't my fault. But I mean, you gave off the perfect example of TNA. Horrible storylines, but great wrestling matches.
Great wrestling, indeed. Great wrestling.
Matter of
one of them is Joey Ryan versus RVD at Turning Point for the X Division title. Joey Ryan, he was known as this PI Magnum PI gimmick he has in the Indies. He has also this disco 70s guy gimmick.
Right.
Wrestling Society X.
Yeah, in Wrestling Society X. He was that 70s team with this other guy. I don't know who the other guy was. It was Joey Ryan, and he's known to be. I first saw him at NWA Hollywood, which they tape here in LA.
Yeah.
As where Austin Aries was before he went to TNA.
As well.
Before he returned to TNA.
Yeah.
Because he was there before with Paparazzi Productions. He feuded with Aries and Scorpio Sky. That was his whole deal in Hollywood. He was a main eventer in NWA Hollywood. And then he came to TNA.
Yeah.
It started with that gut check thing where he feuded with Taz and Al Snow and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
The judges. Yeah, the judges. And now he has Matt Morgan as his bodyguard, and he'll be facing RVD.
Nice. For the X Division title.
Yeah, Turning Point. Which is this Sunday.
This Sunday?
Tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be able to catch it because I got to go out tomorrow. But if I get home on time, then for sure I'll check out the pay-per-view. If I really like what I see, then it's a definite thing that I'll probably start covering TNA a bit more. Start actually watching the show live instead of, just watching the results and then checking the match out because, I like the results of the match.
Right. I mean, the matches themselves are pretty entertaining.
Yeah, no, but I've heard the matches are excellent. And matter of fact, the one that managed to just convince me to just say, like, hey, I got to check this stuff out is Austin Aries versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the TNA title. Like, just
that itself is just that.
Yeah.
Is really great. I don't know, just not being much of a TNA fan, just hearing that card is just it just sounds entertaining already to me.
Yeah. Like, it's just you could just expect a lot of high spots in this match,
Right.
Expect a lot of entertaining things because I mean Hardy's cleaned up his act. I believe it, and I still think he's still pretty young. I mean I'm sure he's already at the tail end of his prime, but I'm sure he could still put on a solid match. Aries is in his prime right now. What about you, Subway? Any thoughts on this match?
I want to watch it. It looks like a really good match. Aries. The only reason Aries became a TNA champion is because he was really over when he came back.
Yeah.
It was like really over with the crowd.
It's like
I like how TNA got an ear on that.
Yeah.
And he beat Bobby Roode for the title.
Yeah.
And that's what started his run. Main eventer.
Only bad thing is he kind of turned heel, right?
Yeah, he turned heel.
And that's only to have Hardy beat him, right? And the reason I heard that they had Hardy go over is because they kind of want to keep him, right?
They want to keep him, and this is basically Hardy's fairy tale story of overcoming the odds of drug addiction and everything, and yada yada yada.
Which tells a good story,
Yeah, which is why he lost. He dropped the title last year when he was heel with Immortal, and I guess he was suspended or something. They let him go for a while to rehabilitate himself. And he came back as a face. And this is where his run came in. And all that led to his TNA title win.
Really, really valiant storyline, I'd say.
Right, but how long is that going to last? I mean, his contract is up, is it by the end of the year? Is it January or March?
And also, apparently, I think he wants to go back to WWE. Those are the rumors that he wants to go back to WWE.
Right, but I mean, how long? For how long do they have to push him so that he stays? Well, is he going to leave? Is he going to have the TNA title as hostage until then?
I don't know about that.
I mean, I don't. That's good. I think they're getting themselves into a predicament with that.
Right?
It's like they're giving him all this stuff, and maybe he's already dead set on leaving and stuff. And like when they want him to take the title away from him, it might be a clusterfuck, or something might happen. I'm not saying a screw job, but I'm just saying that whoever gets the title from him is not going to be seen as highly valued.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly.
If that happens, I think it should be Aries winning the title.
Aries winning it back. Yeah.
And they should push James Storm to the main event level, which he's already getting there. He's getting there.
and we'll get back to Jeff Hardy because that's gonna be our one of near later on in the show. We're gonna ask a hypothetical question of him actually heading to WWE, but that's later on. Right now, let's go on with the current big storyline in TNA, which is Aces and Eights.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy, guys.
The Sons of Anarchy. Oh, they got the poster right for Turning Point.
Yeah,
it's the same.
No, not Turning Point. It was
Victory Road.
Victory Road. Or
yeah, Victory Road. Yeah.
One of those two. And yeah, it was the Sons of Anarchy.
Or
poster.
was it Bound for Glory?
I think it was Bound for Glory.
Yeah.
Victory. It was one of those two, and he had the. he had the Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
It's spot on.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could still.
These guys are basically a motorcycle club. Rumors are Mike Knox and Luke Gallows and maybe Wes Briscoe as leader, but those are just rumors. It's confirmed that Luke Gallows was unmasked this past Impact on Thursday.
Did you guys see that meme? It said even Luke Gallows can't believe it's Luke Gallows. I love that.
Festus.
He was unmasked by Joseph Park, which is Abyss, unmasked. I guess they just didn't want to kill his character off. Kind of like a Kane thing, you know, you don't want to mask him and just make him look bad.
But so they did.
Yeah, but it's not Abyss. It's another guy. It's his brother.
Joseph Park.
Quote unquote, yeah.
But do they acknowledge that it's his brother or not?
No, it's just him portraying his brother.
But he's using his government name, right? And
his name is Chris Parks.
And he's using Joseph Parks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I guess hopefully the TNA pay-per-view is as good as I think it's gonna be. But any closing comments on TNA?
Yeah, get rid of Hogan.
You're serious about getting rid of Hogan?
Get rid of Hogan. Sting is okay. I just don't like him teaming with Hogan.
Mm-hmm.
I always saw him as rivals as a kid, you know, in WCW. Yeah. It's like, really.
Even before Hogan's turn to the NWO, you still saw them as rivals. You know, if you go back to those old pay-per-views, you could actually see that a little bit, you know?
Right.
So yeah, that closes the TNA portion. We're gonna get back to hypothetical questions and maybe a little bit of nostalgia if we have the time. So, hypothetical question. Let's say Jeff Hardy decides to go back to WWE. What do you think he should do, or who do you think he should feud with?
CM Punk.
CM Punk?
Yeah, he should rebuild that great feud they had in 09.
Yeah?
That was a great feud.
Do you think that'll happen immediately, or that would happen immediately?
Not immediately.
No? How would you picture his return?
Well, immediately. Why? Because I remember he returned back in 06. I think it was 06, and it wasn't that good. He came back and he confronted Edge, and then he just became mid-card. It's like, what? I thought he was going to feud with Edge. And it just didn't make sense. He won the Intercontinental title, then eventually won the WWE title. And, I think this time he should return and confront CM Punk and actually feud with him.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think it's if he were to return, it would be something like his most recent WWE return, where he just would eventually fall back into the mid card.
Yeah.
But I do know that Matt Hardy is in WWE sponsored rehab. Maybe something can happen.
Yeah.
Maybe have a little nostalgia tour with them for a bit, and then they would build Jeff Hardy back up and rekindle that CM Punk feud, which was great. And it could be a dozen times greater now, especially considering the star power that both superstars have.
Yeah, just totally excellent. I'd probably be the only one that would actually say, "Oh, I'm gonna hotshot Hardy to feud with Punk." Thing is, I'm probably thinking like the WWE writers right now, because I would probably. I mean, there's no two good ways to settle it. It's pretty obvious though that maybe Punk's role is being lessened right now, and maybe he's gonna lose at the Rumble or something like that. To The Rock, and I'm being hopeful that he still winds up being at the main event in WrestleMania. Somehow he manages to squeeze through, and manages to get placed in the middle of Cena versus Rock too, or which seems to be what
featuring Brock Lesnar or something.
Yeah, because he's right there, even though he quit. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
quote unquote quit storyline.
That was part of his contract. It's like, oh, WrestleMania starring Brock Lesnar. But if they don't really want to put Punk in the main event, then I mean, at the very least, have an excellent match with Hardy, with a returning Hardy who could debut at the Royal Rumble. He could be, that surprise entrant.
Like, that could also work. That's a great situation.
And, yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm saying. We were talking about if I could change subjects now to something nostalgic. We were talking about the invasion angle, right?
Yes.
And we had a long discussion about the invasion angle and how things would have been better. So just to keep things simplified, it's a known fact that within a year after the invasion angle ended, they signed all this talent, all these ex-WCW superstars. They re-signed the NWO, the original trio, right, of the NWO. Ric Flair showed up the day after the invasion angle ended. It's Big Papa Pump showed up.
That was a year later.
Yeah,
about a year later.
That was still some time, but
yeah,
still falls into that category.
Yeah,
Kevin Nash. Oh yeah.
Kevin Nash was. I mean, you had all these people just Goldberg. I mean, now if we kind of jump a little bit ahead, Goldberg re-signed. And it's. I just wonder. Let's say Vince had the money, or no, actually it's true, because all Vince had to do was offer more money than AOL was paying them, because right. At the time they were on a contract by AOL. So all Vince had to do was just pay them more money. And from what I hear, it was pretty much what he spent on the XFL was a fraction of what it would have cost him to just re-sign all those stars.
I didn't know that. That's ridiculous.
and it's exactly.
Having said that, I miss the XFL.
I know that this was a fact that he didn't have money to contract Rey Mysterio after WCW defunct.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
And it wasn't until later on where they contracted him.
Wow. See, there's another superstar, Rey Mysterio.
Also, what would have happened if Dean Malenko didn't retire? What if Eddie Guerrero wasn't fired?
Yeah.
Or Benoit didn't get injured? They had their top ECW stars in the first Invasion pay-per-view. 5-on-5. They had Rhino, they had Raven. No, they didn't have Raven. They had the Dudleys.
Yeah.
And DDP, Booker, and Shane. I don't know why they put Shane McMahon.
Shane McMahon wasn't it DDP?
And it was DDP, Booker T.
Yeah. The
Rhino
Dudleys.
Oh yeah, that was fine.
There you go.
Yeah, that was the Survivor Series.
Yeah, one with Shane. What did Shane have to do with the ECW? So the question is, let's say they had that good talent.
Right.
Do you see the invasion angle being somewhat successful or way more successful?
To be honest, I thought the invasion angle was successful, but not when thinking it in terms of WWF versus WCW versus ECW. It was an entertaining continuation of the McMahon quarrels of years prior. So I took it as that at some point. To me, I just thought, well, this isn't gonna be this clash of the companies. It's just gonna be another McMahon thing, and it turned out to be that way. But ideally, who wouldn't have loved Goldberg versus Stone Cold? It would have been amazing. It could have been, but unfortunately, we just saw another continuation of McMahon.
To ask. Also, something you brought up was in 1992 where they brought all their talent.
Yeah, too much of a good thing. That's where something could actually backlash, because just look at WCW in 1992 and look at the WWF in 1992. In 1992, the WWF literally had Hogan, Macho Man, Ric Flair, Sid Justice, Lex Luger, but he was under contract for the World Bodybuilding Federation, but it was still Lex Luger, the Steiner brothers, all this talent. You know what I mean? I think by that time, who else? Even Rick Martel, who was a former NWA champion. All this excellent talent.
Road Warriors.
The Road Warriors, right? The Road Warriors, the Ultimate Warrior who came back, at that WrestleMania. All this talent. WCW literally had just Sting and Vader, right? No, Sting, Vader, and at the Sting, Vader, and I'd say Ricky Steamboat, right? Ricky Steamboat, but I think even Steamboat by then he was already like.
But I mean, just the difference in that is just ridiculous. Yeah. But I mean, I feel like that's still going on. What? In this way, you have multiple shows now. You have Raw, you have a SmackDown, you have a main event. You know, you want to count Saturday's Morning Slam, Superstars,
NXT,
right? And NXT, but that's all a result of that two brands system, and that's because they just had so many superstars. They had too much of a good thing, and now that they don't have those main event superstars of the past, they're like, well, what do we have? Well, let's just throw, Superstar X in here. He's not ready, but we'll see if he is. And that's how NXT is coming. And I like NXT. They have some promise there, but across the board, it's really thinning out. And that's why I think it's still a continuation of it.
That's what they did in 1998. They brought up new stars when they didn't have their old stars. They didn't have Hogan. They didn't have Luger. They didn't have
Brett.
Nash. Yeah, Brett.
Right.
Brett.
Hall. Yeah, Brett just left. In 98, they were building new stars. They were building Stone Cold. Shawn left because he had surgery. He broke his back.
Lost a smile.
That was the year before.
Yeah.
Then it was, you had Mick Foley. You had The Rock. And these guys were new up-and-comer stars to the WWF. They're like, who are these guys? And they build them up to be main eventers.
Right. And then that's what we're seeing today.
Kane and the Undertaker's been around for a long time, but Kane.
I would never wish harm upon anybody, but I think the best thing that ever happened to the WWF was Shawn hitting the casket and breaking his back. Because I'm not gonna lie, it would have been a whole different environment had he stayed.
Right.
I mean. Because even he admitted to it, you know what I mean. He was on a collision course, and pretty much that whole injury and that whole recovery period allowed him to mellow out and stuff,
Right.
It would have been a whole different situation had he still been able to wrestle. Who knows what direction the WWF would have headed into,
Scott Hall. That's all I'm saying.
Wow. Damn. That's heavy.
It's heavy.
Yeah. Going back to the invasion angle, I'm pretty certain that had they, I totally agree what he said. It would have been too much of a good thing, No way would
look at the Lakers.
Would it have worked out? Would it have worked out exactly? Or actually, they're turning it around. Like, hopefully, God. But yeah. I think something would have just happened wrong in general with the whole. I mean, like, you could just easily see the rosters. How after they kind of split the roster up, and it was Ric Flair for Raw and Vince for SmackDown, and even then they had Austin for Raw and The Rock for SmackDown, and just these top loaded talents. In 2002 for the first ever brand extension,
right? Like
top loaded. And look what ended up happening.
Right, and it was so loaded that they chose the NWO as an entire year.
Yeah, exactly. And Hogan went to SmackDown. And look what ended up happening. Like, it just blew up in their faces, And
hey, but that began the rise of Brock Lesnar.
Who's that guy?
I don't think he would have been contracted into UFC.
Had he not had that reputation. Yeah, it's true. I'm sure Brock owes professional wrestling a lot, and even though he would never admit to it because he's
self-proclaimed ass kicker.
Yeah, there you go. But in general, I just wonder, like invasion wise, what would have what's the word I'm looking for?
I mean, what would have happened if you took that McMahon rivalry out of it?
Yeah.
Who would have led that?
Mm-hmm.
Would have been just Paul Heyman?
No, I think they would have brought someone else. Not Bischoff, but someone else. Probably not Russo. He was, you see all the authority in the.
Well, Vince Russo was actually a part of the writing team for like one day. That's a story that I think I even have in one of my old PWI issues, and it's true. It's confirmed. Literally after I think he had joined the writing team for the WWE. I don't know if it was in early 2002 or in early 2003. But what ended up happening was that I think they wanted to demote him down, something, and that was supposedly beneath him,
Right.
And he decided to head south for TNA, for the upcoming TNA and stuff like that, which
he made horrible matches.
The reverse battle royal.
Yeah, the reverse battle royal, that electric steel cage with the Dudleys and LAX. That when they had that angle with Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt for SoCal Val.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
They had that wedding thing.
That tuxedo match?
Yeah.
That the men had to strip down, not the women. Like, yeah, you're gonna have men pay for that match to happen. Russo is just,
it's innovative, man.
Yeah, I mean, if Russo could book board games, it'd be, it's like, oh, you never had to. While you were connecting four, you were connecting them for the other side. The other side wins. It's just all out of whack. So with that, we're gonna say our closing comments, and we're gonna close this show down. Subway, any closing comments?
Nah, I have none so far right now.
You got anything to promote? Twitter page, Facebook page?
Yeah, Pipebomb Radio.
Okay, there. We need to make a Twitter page, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we need to make a Facebook admin page for Pipebomb Radio. This looks like a really good radio. This is our third, fourth installment.
It's third
installment. But we need to have more installments come forward. So there's gonna be some shows in which I don't show up, which I'm giving full authority.
You guys can make Freebirds rule. So
yeah.
Oh, that sounds good.
If you guys can make them, then just make them, and we'll just put them up. We just sort them out by date. So As for me, my closing comments is I'm really having an eye out on TNA right now, since it's still a few weeks off from Survivor Series happening. So TNA right now, they're literally at a turning point for me. If they manage to pull it off, I mean, I hate to use hyperbole, and I hate to be,
it's wrestling.
I hate to say a pun, but yeah, it's a turning point for them. If they put on a good pay-per-view, then I'm gonna start watching them religiously, same way I watch Raw religiously. If they don't live up to the expectation, then it's gonna be the same old. I'm still gonna cover TNA in the show, but it's gonna be from afar. I guess it's not gonna be that up close as I would cover the E, which is I'm just being honest. I cover WWE more than anything else. As for promoting stuff, I'm promoting Pipebomb Radio, and I have a Twitter page at lewiscurse.com or whatever, however Twitter works.
At Lewis Curse.
At Lewis Curse. There you go. I have a Facebook page, but maybe I might give it out some other day. Just to make sure that there's no serial killers listening to this.
Because you always have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Basement people.
All those basement dweller marks and stuff. Just this is, I think, Cena sucks donkey balls. I'm like, which, by the way, I got to tell that story, but that's gonna be at a later show. This one time when I had gone to meet CM Punk at this Hot Topic store in Hollywood, I ran into the creepiest Cena fan you will ever imagine.
Was he 40 and had male pattern baldness?
It's even worse than that.
Okay, I'm excited now.
Yeah, so you're gonna have.
And you should be too, listener.
Yeah, exactly. So other than that, just follow me at Lewis Curse. Follow us at Pipebomb Radio once I manage to make the page. Hopefully I manage to make it quickly, so you guys just don't click on, oh no, it's not there. Or but either way, we have a YouTube channel. There's also lagpack.com.
You can always check out lagpack.com. It's in the works, but check it out anyway. Mm-hmm. For my plugs, you can check out my Bleacher Report articles on mostly WWE. Maybe you get some Lakers, some NFL, if I get around to it. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at I am Hector Diaz. And where are you, Dean Ambrose?
Where is he?
Who knows?
Yeah.
That's
Seth Rollins.
That's the next question we need to answer. We're going to be on the search. In the meantime, we're going to be on the search for Dean Ambrose. If you see him in your city, let us know. And with that, we close off the show. We catch you all later. Let the pipe bomb drop.
Thank you for watching.
Or listening.